Rega research claims to have upped the ante when it comes to affordable moving magnet phono cartridge performance with the introduction of their ND series cartridges. The new Planar 2 comes with an option of a factory-installed ND3 moving magnet cartridge, which is said to have incorporated many of the lessons learned from the company's moving coil designs. In this video, I'll be discussing what is in the ND3 that Rega claims as a first of a kind, and how does it sound when installed on the Planar 2 turntable. So get comfortable, as in my usual style, I have a few album examples to describe the P2 ND3's sonic performance. And be sure to watch till the end for some comparisons to other turntables and matching phono stage recommendations as well. The Planar 2 turntable comes standard with the carbon cartridge and retails for about $700 USD. You can get the optional ND3 moving magnet for an additional $95. The ND3 on its own costs $345. Rega claims that this is the first implementation of neodymium in moving magnet cartridges. Neodymium magnets have been used in moving coil designs for a while now, but this is the first time I've heard of them being used in moving magnet phono cartridges. If you know otherwise, let me know in the comments. So what's so special about neodymium? They are very light and very powerful commercially available magnets. They have been used in speaker magnets for quite some time. So in this ND3 design, a light and very powerful neodymium magnet forms the core of the signal generator, housed in an injection molded polyphenylene sulfide cartridge body. This combination of lightness and rigidity and a diamond elliptical tip at the end of an aluminum cantilever stylus makes it an efficient and accurate tracking device on the undulations of the vinyl groove. A light and rigid cartridge is an easy load on the tone arm bearings, which Rega says facilitates a well-balanced vinyl playback system design. A little bit about the Planar 2 turntable is also worth going over, as it has a few upgrades over the P1. The tone arm is an RB220, which is a one-piece aluminum design versus the two-piece on the P1, and offers more rigidity, which is a key enabler for rejecting resonances that could otherwise corrupt the low-level signal extraction from the vinyl grooves and transmission. The RB220 has lower friction bearings and a built-in anti-skate. Offers the 3-point mounting for Rega carts like the ND3 and upwards. Fixed VTA though, and azimuth as well. VTA can be adjusted with some cleverly designed spacers. One of these days I should do a video on those spacers alone. A heavier and denser plinth over the P1. The P2 features a float glass platter versus the phenolic platter on the P1. Speed change from 33 to 45 or vice versa will require lifting up the glass platter and moving the belt on the other notch on the pulley. Okay, let's move on to how this turntable and cartridge combination sounds. I used the P2 with the ND3 on two of my systems, my main system and a secondary budget system. In my main system, the P2 with the ND3 feeds into the Parasound JC3 Plus phono stage and sometimes the built-in phono stage of the Musical Fidelity M6 preamp. The power amp is a Chord T-Toby. Speakers are the Acoustic Energy Coriniums. My second system is a bit of a budget setup. The P2 ND3 feeds into the built-in phono of the Rega Brio, and the speakers were the Acoustic Energy AE100 Mark IIs. Now for some albums to describe the P2's tone reproduction, the dynamics, and the detail retrieval. Starting with Journey's Departure album from 1980. The P2 ND3 combination surprised me with the details of the organ and keyboards being used in the track called Walks Like a Lady and another track called People and Places. Also, the speed and attack from the beginning of the track, Any Way You Want It, was pretty impressive. Bass was tight. My budget setup imparts a slight warmth to the mid-bass and vocals and has decent dynamics that makes low-level listening quite satisfying. And the P2 ND3's transparency struck a nice balance here, a lot more neutral and transparent with a lot of detail coming through than I'm used to with the P1 at the source of this modest system. My main system, though, showcases a see-through kind of transparency with big dynamics, and the P2 was definitely not out of place here. The ND3's performance with the transient attacks from percussive elements was really satisfying and quite impressive given its modest asking price of $795. The track Precious Time on this album has a lot going on with the harmonica, guitar riffs, nice drumming, and the ND3 in this system showcased transparency, speed, rhythm, timing, and attack very well. I was thinking to myself, wow, if the P2 ND3 combo sounds so much fun, how good would the ND5 and 7 models sound? Next up is Electric Light Orchestra's Greatest Hits. This album has a great collection of songs. Evil Woman, Living Thing, Can't Get It Out of My Head, Sweet Talking Woman, and Strange Magic are some of my favorite tracks. The ND3 again showed me how well it can do bass. Strong impact, no bloat, maintains that firmness and brings out nuances. On the track Living Thing, the detail from the violin strings and the plucks were quite frankly surprising. On the track Can't Get It Out of My Head, the percussive impacts from the kick drum and the cymbal work stood out along with the violins. On the track called Headed for a Showdown, the violin and the Moog synth and the electric guitar solos came through with less warmth and more slam, which is a good thing. So it didn't mask the leading edge of those transient notes. Has a sense of fast pace in delivering the musical message intact. Next up is Pink Floyd's Division Bell. This is the latest reissue and this pressing is really well done. The opening synth keyboard work in the track Marooned sounds big and expansive. There is this rolling bass effect of a big cello in here too. Big impact and melodious sounding. And the timing is spot on and very necessary to convey the magic on this track. Not preserving this timing can rob away the magic and subtlety of this beautiful song. And on the same track, the timing of the bass guitar and the kick drum is just right for that feel it in your gut bass slam. Along with that impact, the swirling textures of the notes from the synth weave this amazingly psychedelic musical landscape, so to speak, in place. And Gilmour's guitar solo just adds more deliciousness to this masterpiece. On tracks like Wearing the Inside Out, Gilmour's vocals and the voices of those ladies singing the chorus lines sound so rich and yet very clear. If there is richness in the recording, the P2 ND3 brings it out in full. If there is speed and attack mixed in the track, this turntable cartridge combination will bring you that as well. It seems to be pulling out exactly the musical information contained in those vinyl grooves. Let's transition into this psychedelic funk jazz album by Roy Ayers called Stone Souled Picnic. This album is exactly like the name suggests. intricate with the right amount of funk, and most definitely has plenty of psychedelic vibes. Speaking of vibes, the ND3 brings out the lovely glowing overtones from the vibraphone on this album. A Rose for Cindy is the beautiful opening song on this album, and the ND3 in my main system reproduces the tone and detail from the vibes exceptionally well. The reverb tails linger around, and the tone reproduction focuses less on warmth and more on resolving details in the overtones. Never harsh sounding though, just musical and just the right balance. The rhythm and firm bass foundation on this version of the track called Wave is such a delight to hear on this album. The tie-dye on the vinyl looks pretty cool as well. This is a newer pressing, and I think I found it on a record store day from last year, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I'm starting to like some smooth jazz in this phase of my life, especially Washington Grover Jr. stuff. This album is called Come Morning. The tone of the saxophone is full-bodied, and the ND3 captures and maintains that reproduction. This album has big bass as well, especially the track Jammin'. It's a Bob Marley song, so of course it has a really sweet reggae swing to it. And the P3 ND3 combo reproduces the bass in this track in a propulsive manner. The percussive impacts and rhythm of the congas are made clear and come through with excellent control. Vocals are also delivered with smoothness. One more album before we go on to comparisons and matching electronics. Tommy Flanagan's Trio, and this album's called Overseas. The piano and drumming is recorded really well on this album. The drummer Elvin Jones has some neat solos on a few of the tracks here, and those rim shots and the snare textures come through explosively with snap and attack and immediacy. I find the P2 ND3 a significant step up from the P1 with the carbon, or even the P1 fitted with the Audio-Technica VM95 Shibata stylus cartridge. I installed the Audio-Technica 95 Shibata cartridge on the P2 as well to compare with the ND3. The ND3 is more faithful to the musical information than the Audio-Technica 95 Shibata. The Audio-Technica adds more richness and warmth in certain areas. The ND3 seems to have more speed and texture. It seems to extract more tonal information and nuances. If the track is recorded well, capturing warmth in tone, that is what you'll hear with the ND3 cartridge. If the recording is uncompressed and captures dynamics and transient clarity, you will hear it on the P2 and ND3 setup. Compared to the JBL TT350, the P2 ND3 combination seems lighter on its feet, sounds quicker and more spacious, while the JBL TT350 sounds a bit fatter and juicier in tone. It masks some of that clarity in the transients, I feel, that the P2 ND3 is capable of extracting from the music. Some vinyl hobbyists might prefer the warmer tone on certain kinds of music versus a quicker, snappier, and more transparent presentation. So it is very much a subjective preference in the end anyway. Before discussing phono stage matching, I'd like to mention that if you are in the Metro Detroit area or in Northwest Ohio, you should visit No Noise HiFi in Toledo and ask for an audition of the Rega Planar 2 with the ND3 cartridge. I think you will be as impressed as I am. Coming to phono stage recommendations, the P2 ND3 works well with the built-in phono of the Rega Brio, but performs even better when using phono stages in the more expensive dedicated preamps like the Musical Fidelity M6 and standalone phono stages like the Parasound JC3 Plus. Very curious about the ND5 and 7 phono cartridges as well. Videos of those coming up soon.